Hello. Okay, I was originally planning the next video to be a look either at the two new fountain pens I just picked up or uh, my collection of inks, but I've decided to go a little bit different since it's been a while since I've really done any videos. I decided to go back and take a look, just a quick overview of the books. There's 11 of them now. I'm working on 12 and 13 are in editing right now. 12 I'm editing now. I'll get to them in a minute. Um, just a quick overview, a little bit of a synopsis of what goes on in them. Try to avoid spoilers, um, and just so that we have some groundwork as where we're starting from, and then we'll move on. We'll move on from there. Might go a little deeper into the individual books than the stories behind them because a couple of them have some interesting backstories. For example, Brianna and the Three almost never saw publication. Same thing with Wanderer, but we'll get there. Just basically, I've been writing since I was 12 or 13 years old. I started writing actually 75 with writing some really bad, emphasis on bad, Space 1999 fan fiction. And although I didn't know the term fan fiction at the time, but seriously started writing in 77 when I saw Star Wars. And I haven't stopped since. And these books are a culmination of that. So, the first book, the first three books were collections. The first one is With Eyes Open, and I'll have you'll see before this, I'll have the collected covers on there, so you'll have a better view of them. But this is With Eyes Open. This has two stories in it. The first is the story the book is titled after, With Eyes Open. Brief synopsis. Mira Frayne thought she was going to make a change in her life. Despite her career spent helping people take control of their lives, she found she had been used and lied to, that she had been drawn into someone else's deceit. Breaking free would lead her to changes she never anticipated or wanted. She would learn there is more to the world than she ever imagined. The Adichas would not be denied. They would have what they wanted, no matter the cost to Mira. In the not-too-distant future, the consequences of those changes would still be felt. Then the second story is interesting. The second story is called A Voice in the Darkness. And when I started writing A Voice in the Darkness, I hadn't planned on it being a sequel to With Eyes Open. But Mira showed up one day and, well, there we go. And basically, in the late 22nd century, former government researcher Mandalay Jones had been looking forward to a change in career, but finds herself dragged back into the fold to resolve a critical situation. Her ex-husband's research had gotten out of control, and it falls to Mandalay to recover the research and save her ex-husband and his staff. Along the way, she finds her efforts aided and abetted by a mysterious woman named Mira. And like I said, when I started writing Voice in the Darkness, I hadn't planned on it being a sequel to With Eyes Open. It just happened. That's how things happen when I write. I don't generally plot things out. I'm very much a discovery writer. I start writing and see where it goes. So that's the first book. The second book is a bigger collection of hang on here. Is a bigger collection of stories. One moment. is a bigger collection of stories, which I lovingly call Campfire Stories. I know this is backwards. I'm sorry. Campfire Stories is an actual collection. This is 8 stories, arranged not in the order that they were, not in the order that they were written, but they're arranged in the order that they take place in my fictional history. A little background: all my stories take place in one universe, from 13.8 billion years plus 1 day. Explain that in a second. To right now, the year 7968. Yes, no, we're not. I have this feeling we're not going to destroy ourselves. I'm not even that pessimistic. But like I said, there's 8 stories in Campfire Stories. A quick overview of them. First story is The End of Seconds. A research project to answer an age-old question goes terribly wrong with consequences that reach across time. That is the one that takes place 13.8 billion years plus 1 day in the past. On the day before the end of the universe prior to this one. And answers that annoying question, so where did God come from? The second question is called Games of Life and Cold. While exploring an uncharted planet, a group of genetically engineered beings find themselves in a life or death struggle with a race that considers them little more than animals. Third story, If You Listen Softly. What if the world around you changed and you were the only one who noticed? Then All My Yesterdays Remembered. An author finds there's more to his childhood friend than he ever thought. Excuse me. Sorry about that. Symmetry. Rosalind had no idea how she came to be on the subway with the conductor, the only other writer, and she wasn't sure she wanted to know the answer. Signpost. A planetary survey leads Tamara on a journey of discovery and wonder. Last Light. Carly and Alexa were on their way to lunch. Then they walked into a hostage crisis. Then it fell to Carly to end it. And The Shape of the Truth. As an investigator, Dari had to find a suspect who was able to hide in plain sight and also prove his innocence. It's just a brief synopsis of the stories. If I do go back into each book individually, I'll definitely go into each of these stories a little bit more in depth. Oh, in case you're wondering, no, I don't edit these videos. This is strictly I don't even write scripts anymore. This is strictly off the top of my head. You're getting the raw feed. You'll get it as it goes. So I'm sorry, but it's a toss up between learning how to edit videos and writing. I already spend 40 hours a week working, and then shopping and cooking and all that. And yeah, if I manage to, and now I'm in the middle of editing, so I'm not writing, I'm editing. So, okay, so enough. Not gonna rant. Not gonna rant. No ranting. No ranting. Next book is Upright Symmetry. This is an interesting one because while this is also a collection of stories, it follows 2 characters over the course of a year. Only instead of individual chapters, it's 7 stories. I actually wrote one of the stories called "A God to Dance With." I'll go a little deeper into that in a second. I wrote that first and tried to get it published on its own, and it kept getting rejected. And one editor said it seemed like part of something bigger. So I thought, and then the other 6 stories came. This begins Only Time. 1 year ago, Scott and Zoe travel back to Earth to visit with Scott's friends Brenna Alexander and her husband, George Severin. While they reminisce, Zoe thinks hears someone say goodbye to her but can't find who said it. Then we come to the story of God to Dance With. 7 months ago, Scott and Zoe are on an archaeological expedition to the planet Stelvra. They were there to investigate the myth of Caeraltan, the Stelvrans' sleeping god. They were hoping to conduct the research before the planet's unstable political system collapsed. But what was waiting for them in the tomb, and who would pay the consequences? And then being. Scott begins to come to terms with the aftermath of the events in the tomb while getting to know the person Zoe has become. The suspicions of the ship's captain weren't helping him cope. Then a system failure threatened the whole ship, and only one person can help them. Intermezzo, 3 months ago. Zoe's condition has been deteriorating, and she doesn't know why. To help find a cure, Scott has to turn to the science directorate once again to set up an expedition to a distant sector, one that is believed to be uninhabited. Or is it? The Ark of Heaven, 1 month ago. Scott contracts Arcadia Ryan, an old friend and independent starship master, to transport him, Zoe, and a team of scientists and politicians to Zoe's home to try and find out what's wrong with her, as well as study her people and establish relations with them. But Scott hadn't counted on the science directorate having its own agenda. And then Circle, 2 days ago. Arcadia brings Scott and Zoe back to Earth so they can tell Brianna and George what happened to Zoe. After misunderstandings, Scott finally finds out who said goodbye to Zoe on their last visit a year ago. And finally, and forever, now. Zoe learns one last secret as the final circle comes to a close. Now, in case you notice, we're counting backwards from 1 year ago to the present. Well, the present when this takes place, which is the late 46th century. I'm just trying to do something a little bit different with the form. Instead of just having, chapters, I just decided to break it up into individual stories. I think it works. And then next we have The Fault Lies Not. The Fault Lies Not. It's you can think of it as a bit of a police procedural set in the late 26th century. In the late 26th century, a serial killer roams the city of Norfolk. There is little evidence left at the scene of the murders, and no trace of the killer shows up on any of the city's scanners. It's up to EarthGov Security Special Agent Lynn Sillo and her partner, Special Agent Vincent DeBerg, to stop him. But is there something behind the murders? Something that reaches far beyond the city? This one also contains the most inept, clumsy transition I have ever written. It's told first person from Lynn's point of view, but there's a point where I have to shift to Vincent's point of view in order to tell the reader something that Lynn doesn't know yet. And it is the most clumsy transition I have ever written. Well, if you're going to make mistakes, make big ones. Next book is it's out of order. Okay. Okay. Next book is Ray. This is also the shortest book, the shortest of the books, not counting. I think even with Eyes Open is longer than this total between the two stories. This is the shortest of them all. I don't have the word count off the top of my head, but it's very short. EarthGov security agent Kevin Martin and his partner, probationary agent Rachel Ray Mercer, thought they had been assigned an open and shut case. A murder had been committed on the colony of Haven, and local law enforcement already had a suspect in custody with enough evidence to ensure a conviction. Things begin to spin out of control when Ray is severely beaten and Kevin is accused of the attack. Who's trying to stop the murder investigation? What is the connection between the suspect and the victim? And how does the secret Ray is keeping tie into it? One of the things you'll also notice if you read through the books, there are spoilers, because I don't. These are not being written in sequential order. They're published as I finish them, and I bounce around like for example with The Fault Lies Not. That was the late 26th century. This Ray is set in 2200, and then the next one, On a Cold Wind, is in 2189. So we're kind of bouncing around a little bit. So there are kind of spoilers in there. If you read With Eyes Open and Ray, you kind of know the future of one character. Which character? Next book is On a Cold Wind. This, at the moment, is the longest single story that's printed. I think, I know as of right now, The Fast Fading Light, book 13, is longer, but it's only been through one edit, and it's got a bunch more to go through before I know the final word count. But as of right now, On a Cold Wind is the longest single story at about 34,000 words. The story of Carl and Carly Adrastia, an agent of EarthGov security in the late 22nd century, begins. As an enhanced human, a group of humans engineered to have superior physical and mental abilities, she is subject to hatred and discrimination while continuing to work for the improvement of her people's situation. Along with her partner, Special Agent Murphy Greenfield, she is assigned to track down 2 escaped criminals who threaten a newly established colony. One of the criminals, Ephraim Bartok, is also an enhanced human who wants to incite a revolution and lead the enhanced humans to freedom. There is a link between Carly and Bartok, one that only Carly's division director knows. This was actually this and Wanderer they were going to be part of longer books. And one story from Campfire Stories, Last Light, was actually going to be part of this until I decided it has nothing to do with the rest of the story, so I took it out and left With Eyes Open, On a Cold Wind on its own. And excuse me for just one moment. I will be right back. All right, sorry about that. I meant to hit play and hit stop, and never mind. So, On a Cold Wind, it kind of locked in a few things. It locked in exactly where in the future, at least some of the EarthGov security stories took place, and gave me some grounding to work from for the, and I worked outward from there. Next, we have Brianna and the Three. This almost did not see publication. I wrote and finished it back in when I was working for Lowe's. Oh yeah, sometime between 1999 and 2001. And it was terrible. It was terrible. It needed a lot of work, and I literally had to rewrite it. I mean, the plot line was good. The characters were good. The basic story beats were good. It just was not working, so I literally had to rewrite it from the beginning. In the distant future, a woman is kidnapped, and it falls to Archangel Brianna Pandora to rescue her. As an officer in the Angel Corps, Brianna is responsible for defending Earth, its colonies, and citizens, as well as training newer Corps members. When given the assignment, she thinks there won't be any difficulty. However, when tracing the victim's last known movements, Brianna finds there may be more to the kidnapping than she first thought. Tracking the victim to a distant colony world, Brianna must deal not only with her own insecurities, but with the three mythological warriors who may or may not exist. This one took a lot of work. But when I was finally finished with it, I liked it. It turned out very good. And I actually am working on a sequel to it. I'm actually working on a sequel to On a Cold Wind too. That one's called Dissembler. And it's kind of a sequel to this. It deals actually with Brianna's brother Sean, who is referenced at the end of the story. Towards the end of this. And next we have Upon a Far Distant Shore. This one actually introduced an organization known as Section Alpha. It's a precursor organization to EarthGov Security that exists in the late 22nd century. They kind of do the same thing. They investigate anything that's out of the purview of normal law enforcement, anything to do with vampires, werewolves, mages, mystics, immortals, anything like that, extra-dimensional beings, extraterrestrials, you name it, they deal with it. By the way, in my fictional universe, vampires and werewolves and immortals, mages, mystics, all exist. Section Alpha is a clandestine organization dedicated to handling situations outside the mandate of normal law enforcement. Extraterrestrial, extra-dimensional, and paranormal threats all fall under their jurisdiction. As an agent for Section Alpha, Artemis Jean had seen a lot in the years she's been with the agency, including the incident that led her to join up. But while responding to an alert, she finds herself swept away to a deserted town with no idea how she got there or how to escape. Joined by a mysterious woman who knows more than she says, Artemis has to find a way back home while facing a longtime adversary and the aliens that may be behind it all. This one I had a hard time starting this one because I couldn't decide if it was a male character or a female character. I couldn't decide exactly where she was coming from. So I finally decided she's from my fictional Earth, and this is her life story, or part of it. A little more grounded because it does take place here on Earth, and it does take place in more or less the here and now, which is something I usually avoid because I try to avoid real life getting in the way of the stories. But then I decided it's a fictional universe. I can have them follow a different history than we're following here. Just because our politicians are fucking assholes doesn't mean theirs have to be. Don't get me started. Next. Raven. This is one of the first stories about Division 2 of EarthGov Security. A little background real quick. In the late 22nd century, there are 5 divisions of EarthGov Security. Division 1 is kind of like the Secret Service. They protect EarthGov President, Senate, visiting dignitaries. Division 2 takes care of everything on Earth and within the solar system. So all the way out to the Oort cloud, they take care of it. Division 3 is Covert Ops. Division 4 is Beyond Covert Ops. If anyone's familiar with, if you're familiar with Star Trek, it'd be kind of like Section 31. They're not even the president of EarthGov knows what they're doing. They're so paranoid they don't even use their real names most of the time. This is about agents in Division 2. In his time with EarthGov Security, Special Agent David Troy thought he had seen it all. So when he and his partner, Special Agent Maureen Rogers, were assigned to assist local law enforcement with a kidnapping, he expected to have the case quickly resolved. But with no ransom and no contact with the kidnappers except for a single note, David sees the situation go from bad to worse. What do the kidnappers want from a successful industrialist? What part does the head of security play? And what secrets are Maureen keeping from David? Again, it was just trying to, this is, what I try and do is I'm trying to explore different aspects of my fictional world. So that's why here we are with Division 2, which are here on Earth and within the solar system. Division 5, Carly Murphy and them, they're out in space. They're far outside the system, colonies dealing with Confed and all that. But here we are with them dealing with Earth. I have a few stories about Division 2 characters, including this one, Stranger. When she joined EarthGov Security, Denise Bell knew she wouldn't have an easy time of it. As an enhanced human, designed to have greater abilities and sharper senses, there was only one division in which she could serve, or so she thought. Now, Denise is the first of her sort to serve in Division 2, mandated with operating on Earth and within the home system. She soon finds herself on her first big assignment. She has to infiltrate a terrorist camp and determine their next target. What part does her batch sister play? This one was interesting because I had to change one of the characters. I began to realize that through all my EarthGov Security stories, all my 2 agent teams were a man and a woman. So I decided, okay, we're going to change this a little bit. And instead of changing the main point of view character, Denise, I changed her partner. Her partner initially was named Martin Baldwin. I changed it to Nicola Baldwin. So now we have 2 women. Martin's still around. He's now Nicola's husband. And it's a little bit more of a personal story, watching an enhanced human who's actually a little conflicted. Denise is a bit confused, and at times she's a bit overwhelmed by what she has to deal with. And so I'm trying to portray a human character, just a character who's a good person and a good character. Just trying to make him human. Then there is this is book number 11. Pardon me here. Wanderer. As a courier with Division 5 of EarthGov Security, Special Agent Alexandra Sinclair has gained a reputation for completing her deliveries. When another division came to them with information to be delivered to an allied power, it was expected Alexa would complete the assignment, but she disappeared before making the delivery. Now Division 5 mobilizes to find their missing courier. This was another one, like On a Cold Wind, that I actually wrote a slightly longer version of it. There was a longer piece before, and there was a sequel to it where Alexa got her memories back, which may or may not still happen. I haven't decided yet. Yeah, that's it. I'm sorry if I'm rambling here, but that's how I do my videos. I ramble. And so, yeah, that's the 11 books as they exist right now. So I do have I am in the middle of editing book 12, which is titled My Soul to Keep, which you could think of it as uh, if you're familiar with the movie Logan's Run and Dark City, it's kind of it's kind of that kind of vibe that I'm playing with. And then then book 13 is The Fast Fading Light, which is kind of in a way a prequel to My Soul to Keep, which will become clear when the books are published. So that's everything right now. I think I've rambled long enough. I may go into these individually a little bit more later on, but yeah, that's it for now. All the links will be down below if you're interested in picking any of these up. I'm thinking of changing covers so they have try and find something a little bit more pizzazz. I don't know. I'm trying to boost book sales here. So that's it for now, guys. All my social media links will be down there below also, and yeah, if any of them are catch your eye, just if you do buy a book, just please go back and put up a review, good, bad, or indifferent. Thanks a lot, and I'm not certain when this will go up, but hope you enjoy it. Take care.